Hello there, people. My name is Karen White, and I am the author of a book called Changing Your Game Plan that is now available on Amazon.com. What is changing your game plan? Changing the game plan is my personal guide to how I work the 12 steps. It is my journey, it's my experience, strength, and hope. I've been in the 12-step program in both rooms. I'm in the addictive room as well as I'm in the non-room for over 33 plus years. And this is the guideline that 4 sponsors worked with me over my period of time to change my life over 360 degrees. And I have been working this with hundreds of women throughout the years in the program to help them change their lives and their journey in the 12-step program. And it took me 5 years. And finally, I put all my notes and my papers together and I formed this workbook. It is a workbook. Changing your game plan can work in any anonymous program. So if you're in an addictive program like AA, NA, Sex Anonymous, any Stealers Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous, any anonymous Gamblers Anonymous, you can use this guideline. If you're in any of the non-programs, if you're in Al-Anon, Nar-Anon, CODA, any of the codependency programs, you can use this guideline. It's the same guideline. It starts off, this is the layout of the book. It starts off with the introduction. It's the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's the 12 steps of Al-Anon. And then it goes on to tell the Serenity Prayer. And then it goes on to introduce me as the author and my journey through the 12-step program. It also tells you what you need to prepare for this step. This part is very important. I'm only using 4 books in this book to work these steps. I use the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous because the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous is the Bible for the 12-step program. You cannot work the 12 steps without having that book as a guideline, no matter what program you're in. I believe that because I've worked it for myself and I've worked it for others. So that is a necessary book. I use the other original literature, the AA 12 and 12 for the addictive side. And then for the non-side of the program, I use the Al-Anon 12 and 12. And then I use the ODAT, the One Day at a Time book. And it tells you right here what you need to do and to starting to work the 12 steps. This is the journal of entry and expression. This is the part that tells you how you're going to be laying out your journal, your notebook, the piece of paper that you're working on. This just kind of gives you a layer of what you're going to be doing. And then this here are just little quotes that I put in throughout the book because the book is so heavy because you are working on the 12 steps. So you're getting ready to get into a whole bunch of information as you're going through this book. And it's very, very heavy sometimes. So I put little quotes throughout the book as you're working the steps to kind of make it light. The book, the first 52 pages of the book is all the guidance on how to work the steps. The other 18 pages are just notes. And then the very last page is all the information, how to contact me, how to order your book, etc. The book is laid out by sponsee and sponsor. So the first sponsee pages that you get to come on page 11, and I do start with the sponsee first. And then the way that I work the steps is that I work 1, 2, and 3. I work 4 and 5. I work 6 and 7. I work 8 and 9. And then I work 10, 11, and 12. And I work them together like that. So it will have the sponsee. On the sponsee side, you have the steps. And I wrote the steps in the AA version as well as the Al-Anon version. And then it tells the sponsee what to do. It lays it out. You have to have these first 4 books to be able to work the steps. It tells you what to do, how to highlight your sentences, how to prepare. And then it also tells you to contact your sponsor, because when you contact your sponsor is the one that's going to be guiding you through what you need to do to continue to prepare for these steps. And this is what it tells you here. It tells you to contact it. And then it also tells you the duration of what it takes to do these steps. And then the other part of it is the sponsor part, which the sponsor part starts here. And it's more in detail. The sponsor part is the person that's working, the therapist, the counselor, the sponsor is working the program. So it's very, very in depth and very detailed. So it tells you to, what books it starts off by telling you what books you're going to need and what you're going to need to do. The place that you need to work the steps at, make sure it's a quiet place. Whatever you need for those steps, it will also go into that with you. And then it tells you how to begin. It starts off how to open up with prayer, all the things that you're going to do, have them to do as you're sitting there working them through the steps. And it's step by step, precept by precept, what you want them to do to get through the steps. At the end of every step, I put on there what you should have the sponsee do when they leave, because once they leave you and they go back, you want to always, in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, have them read page 75 of the Big Book, the 3rd chapter. And then I also assign some kind of assignment for them to do in the next 30 days, particularly with this step is reading page 60 to 63 in Alcoholics Anonymous, the Big Book. And then it also says read hind feet in high places for the readings. So after every step, I have some type of book for them to read in between to get prepared for the next step. Throughout the steps, I have in the back of the book, I have an appendix, and throughout the steps, it will refer to these appendix, and this will tell you the example of what you do, like Appendix 1. It says right here, highlight the sample areas, and it shows you how to, when you're reading, to highlight the areas that you like in the book. And that's most important, because as a sponsor in this program, those are the highlighted areas that you're going to constantly be sharing over and over again. Appendix 2, whenever you see that, it refers to, I believe that every word in the step, that the sponsee needs to look up every word in the step. So one of the things that you have to do to work the steps is look up every word in the step, and it shows you how to do that as well. Appendix 3, it's the example of when you're doing steps 4 and 5. Appendix 4 is the example of what you're doing when you're doing 8 and 9. And then Appendix 5 is a list of the prayers that you do, because at the end, when you close out working the steps, you always want to do a prayer with your sponsee. And I have a list here of all the prayers that I work with as well. It's also really neat because in the very back, starting on page 60, you have all these pages. You have 18 blank pages that you can use to write down information. So if you're a therapist or a counselor, you can write down, you can take a book for each one of your patients and be writing and journaling all this as you're going along in the book, and just put it in the file after you finish going through the steps. Like I said, there's 18 pages here of blank pages, so you have that available. And then at the very end, it tells you information on how you can reach out to me for training, speaking engagements, conferences, I have workshops, I have a curriculum of how to work the steps that I have. So this is all the information on how to reach me, as well as there's some daily readings that I do out here to motivate people, and they can scan that and be able to go straight to all the readings and stuff like that under Programchild, as well as I host a step study every Wednesday on YouTube called Higher Self Wednesday. I would like to have an opportunity to be able to discuss this more with you. If you like what you're seeing, and this is something that you feel that you can use for your treatment center, or as a counselor, if you're a counselor or a therapist, and you want to bring more of the 12-step presence into your office, I would love to talk to you and to share my journey. And also I have a curriculum that teaches this book, and it will teach you step by step, precept by precept, on how to work the steps. I'm also able to train you personally. Some of the treatment centers like me to train their staff one-on-one and talk to their staff one-on-one about how to do these steps. If you're a sponsor or a sponsee in the program, you can use the curriculum as well. And then I also will be hosting workshops 4 times a year. And that information will be available on the Higher Self Wednesday videos on YouTube, as well as on Programchild.net. So whenever those events take place, you are more than happy to come out and learn how to work the steps in those types of capacity. If you have any more questions, please go to Programchild.net. I do have in Programchild.net a contact area. You can contact me. I'd be more than happy put what your questions are. If you would like to schedule an appointment, we can go through a Zoom meeting, an appointment, and talk more about the layout and more of the behavior side of this and what I'm trying to accomplish and what I have accomplished with other people as far as working the steps. So remember, right in front of you, Programchild.net, the contact page, and follow me on YouTube. There's a lot of videos. I'm starting to teach the steps out there, which is very educational. I'm using the books to the 4 books to teach the steps. So I look forward to hearing from you, and blessings over you today, great people.